There's a lot of talk when it comes to the red heifers, sacrifice, Temple Mount, the third temple. There's a lot of talk when it comes to it. Are they going to sacrifice the red heifer for Passover this year? Well, let's take a look at the latest on what's going on. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Zach, the Wretched Watchman. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm bringing you a little bit of news when it comes to what's going on over in Israel when it comes to the temple and the red heifers and whatnot. So, as we know, Israel is God's timepiece. It's what we need to focus on, especially since we know Daniel's 70th week. Also, the time of Jacob's trouble is all about Israel. It's about getting God's people to return to the true Messiah that is Jesus Christ. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on, a lot of things happening that we're watching over there, whether it's what's going on with the war, we got the economy stuff that's kind of happening. We're kind of paying attention to Israel when it comes to Damascus, and we're keeping an eye on what's going on with the Temple Mount. We've seen a lot of things when it comes to the temple institution getting things ready to go, whether it's design or even things like furniture and whatnot for the temple. We've also seen things coming when it comes to training rabbis and priests and all those, and they've been going through rehearsals when it comes to different services that they hold over there. But the big one that we've been watching for a while, ever since they left Texas, is the red heifers. And they've got some that are still suitable, that are still approved to be sacrificed to cleanse the area. I mean, that's what the ashes are for from the red heifers, is in order to clean, to purify from things from just dirtiness to the dead and so on, which we understand there's been a lot of combat and a lot of death around the Temple Mount as well. So this needs to happen for the Jews to get this going. And along with that comes the fact of they're going to need to rebuild that temple. And so there's an aspect to that I want to talk about after we talk about the red heifers that I don't think is getting discussed enough. And so we're going to kind of take a look at this. So first up, let's take a look at what's going on with the heifers, shall we? And it says, red heifers ready for the temple by Passover. It says, game-changing developments are happening right now in Israel concerning the third temple. Probably the most critical missing link preventing the rebuilding of the temple is set to fall into place within months with crucial help from Christians. Meanwhile, Hamas is watching the developments closely and have even claimed it to be a major part of their motivation for the heinous October 7th terrorist attack, with tensions already at a boiling point across the Middle East. Will we shortly see Israel take bold steps towards rebuilding the temple? If we keep going, let's see. It says, without the red heifer ashes, priests and Levites currently in training with the Temple Institute are disqualified from serving in a future rebuilt temple. Furthermore, with all the bloodshed on the Temple Mount down through the centuries, the mount itself must be cleansed before the temple can be built. That's why it's so important when we're watching for this, especially since this is going to be, when it happens, approval for these animal sacrifices to begin again as well, which we understand that at the midpoint of Daniel's 70th week, when the Antichrist steps into the temple and declares himself to be God, he's going to put an end, he's going to break the covenant and put an end to animal sacrifices. So this is definitely something to pay attention to on that. It says, although one of the 5 was disqualified last year due to the emergence of a few white hairs, the remaining 4 remain on track to be eligible to be sacrificed this year, according to All Israel News. Temple Institute rabbis hope to perform this ceremony prior to Passover this year, while other sources claim it will happen sometime between Passover and Pentecost. So this was from a few days ago, or like a week ago, I think. Let's see. Does it say? I think I blocked it when I edited that. But I think I heard, I don't know for sure. I think I heard that another one was disqualified. So there's 3 left. Could be wrong though. So don't take me on that. We do know that there are still some who are qualified. So that's the important part on this. So what's going to happen? Are they going to do it? Is it actually going to happen? We're not quite sure. We're just going to sit here and watch. But this is a step that needs to happen. Animal sacrifices, cleansing for the temple, as well as the priests and whatnot. So this is something that needs to happen. But the next thing I want to talk about has to do with the temple itself. We understand that the temple has to be rebuilt. And there's a lot of talk regarding where is it going to go? Where does it go? Well, we know it goes on the Temple Mount. And a lot of people think that the Dome of the Rock needs to move, needs to go away, that they need to get rid of that. And I actually disagree with that. And I've got Revelation 11 set up here that plays a part when it comes to this. One of the key aspects that we need to pay attention to is the gate, the East Gate, because the East Gate is directly in line, built to enter straight into the Holy of Holies for the temple. So that's important to understand. And if we look at the Temple Mount, the Dome of the Rock sits, I believe it's to the south of the East Gate, I believe, to the south of the East Gate. It's not lined up with the East Gate. Actually, the northern spot that lines up with the East Gate is open. And so if we look, that's the spot for the temple. And we also get some information when we look at Revelation 11, 1-3. It says, "Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod, and the angel stood, saying, 'Rise and measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But,'" and it's a big one, "'but leave out the court, which is outside the temple, and do not measure it.' Why? Because it has been given to the Gentiles, and they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months. And I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth." As we know, they come down, the 2 witnesses come down, when the covenant is signed, and then they get killed at the midpoint. That's the 1,260 days. That's 3.5 years. But it's the part where it's measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there, but leave the court, which is outside the temple, because it has been given over to the Gentiles. What does that mean? The northern spot, the northern section north of the Dome of the Rock, I should say, I'll get it right eventually, lines up perfectly with the East Gate. It could sit right there and lead straight into the Holy of Holies. The temple and the altar will fit perfectly. The only thing that doesn't fit is the court, which would intersect with the Dome of the Rock, which has been given to the Gentiles. The spot of the temple lines up at the East Gate, will sit next to the dome, and will not include the court, just as Revelation 11 tells us, because it's been given over to the Gentiles. So the spot fits perfectly. And then the other aspect of this has to do with the fact of the initiative for the interfaith worship that will take place in the area. If you have the temple and the Dome of the Rock sitting next to each other, that is part of the interfaith movement that not only Israel is trying to accomplish, but is also one of the main proponents of the Abraham Accords as well, is to provide a unified religious worship place. And that would fit into that perfectly, which also fits into the one world religion that is trying to be done, that we know is in prophecy as well. So it looks like, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who will probably disagree with me on that. That's fine. From what I read in my Bible, what I see on the map, and what I've seen from historical maps, the third temple spot is wide open, right next to the Dome of the Rock, lines up at the East Gate, and it would fit perfectly as Revelation 11 tells us. The only thing that's got to happen first, well, cleansing through the animal sacrifice that is the red heifer. Keep an eye on Israel. Keep an eye on those cows. And keep an eye to the sky. We're getting awfully close, guys. We're getting awfully close to that blessed hope that we're promised through Jesus. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on what's going on with that. This is definitely some important stuff to keep track of. So, all right, I'm going to leave you guys right here. Thank you for watching. You guys have a great rest of your week. Continue to share the gospel of Jesus Christ and continue to warn people of what is coming. Stay focused, Lord, or stay focused on the Lord. Yeah. Stay focused on the Lord. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you right here. Peace out. Maranatha.